today, I don't know, at one time, the family made tzitzis. It was the men in that family, and they made the strings, and they were the ones just making the strings. Years ago, there were two families. There was Wallace tzitzis, Wallace, which was called Wallace tzitzis, and Hershkowitz. Those were the two families from Eretz Yisrael where they used to bring tzitzis, import them. Wallace was a very fine, thin thread, although it was 8-ply. Hershkowitz was a thicker string. But Wallace was the more advanced, better quality type of string on many levels. Okay. Let's see the Mishnah on Daf Yud. Okay, before we had mentioned that the commonality between get shichur and get isha. One of them was that if you have a kusi witness, now kusim, everybody agrees, initially they were converts. They were the Kuthites. And of course we're of the opinion that kusim geriemis, the kusim were what? Were true converts, not Geri Aroyus. Otherwise, of course, if he's not a true convert, then he can't sign on a document under any circumstance. So the Mishnah says, Kol get sheish lov 8 kusi posul. Any document, get means any monetary document, or any other kind of document that has an 8 kusi, it's posul. He doesn't qualify. Why? We'll see. Because he's choshed l'shakir. Rashi says, because he's suspect, he's not telling the truth. Chutz mikitino shichrei avodim. Except for a get which is used for divorce or emancipation. That's the exception. The Gemara is going to explain why. Why do we differentiate between an ordinary document and get isha and get shichur? Masa shevi lefnei Rabbi Gamliel lekfar usnoi. They brought a document, a get, before Rabbi Gamliel to the location called Kfar Usnoi, get isha. We were a dove. Edi Kusi. Not only was there one witness in Eid Kusi, there were 2 witnesses. You see the Gemara where the Gerson Mishnah is Eido, in the singular it's the plural. Bercher, and he validated it. Because from the beginning, so are they arguing or not arguing? According to the way the Mishnah is written, Tanakam holds only a single Eid Kusi. Right? And after the Eid Kusi, you have a regular witness signing. The Gemara is going to say something interesting. Speaking about there's a takon, they legislated a halacha that all the witnesses a witness also has to be designated by the husband to sign on the get. He designates them. And rabbinically, if he says kulchem, I want all of you to sign, he says 10 people, I want you all to sign on the get. Let's say 9 of the 10 sign, it's not valid. Because the get is only get. If you meet his criteria, you have to have all the witnesses. So Chazal said that because if he would say kulchem, I want you all to sign, if they don't all sign, it's not valid. Even if he doesn't say kulchem, they all have to sign in the presence of one another. Because it's a gzeira, it's a fence for the situation. When he says kulchem, they all have to be present because there's a chance they may not all sign. So all those that he had designated to be the signatures on the document, they all have to sign in the presence of the one another. So the same thing is true in regard to even if he doesn't say kulchem, all of you should sign. Whoever the witness will be, they have to sign in the presence of one another. So what's the difference? What difference does it make? So let's say you have 2 types of kusim. You have a kusi who's an ordinary kusi, who's suspect to lie. Then you have a kusi called kusi chover. He's an older man, more learned. That these people, because they're of stature and they're recognized by the community as being people who are special, these people don't lie. So kusi chover means, people who have some kind of ordination from Washington Heights, chover, right? So if they have that, the man's not going to lie. So if we say people, they sign in the presence of one another. So let's say you have the bottom signature, he's not a kusi. There's 2 signatures on the get. The lower signature is not a kusi. What's always a chance? There's a possible that maybe the person signed on the bottom, and out of respect, he left the space above his own signature for an elder witness, out of respect. But the question is, who's that elder witness? Right? Did it turn out that an older witness signed? So even if it was a kusi, it's not a problem, because if he's he's a chover, he qualifies. Or maybe it was an ordinary kusi signed. So if it's an ordinary kusi, it's a problem. So since by Gitten, they only sign the presence of one another, it's not possible that he just put a signature and left the space open for whoever should sign there, because he would not. They have to sign the presence of one another, and he will not sign on the same document that an ordinary kusi signs. So who is the kusi who had signed? It's the chover. So that's how I know. But by an ordinary monetary document, they don't sign the presence of one another. So let's say initially he says, well, we're going to leave the space for an elder of the kusim. And what happens if the elder didn't sign? The Jew's not aware that the elder didn't sign. Maybe an ordinary kusi signed. Therefore, by every other document, it's possible. Because we're always concerned, maybe the kusi was not a kusi chaver. But in regard to get shikhr or get isha, where they have to sign the presence of one another, the Jew wouldn't have put a signature on the document unless the one who signed prior to himself was the chaver.
So you don't hold that by shtar, then a regular shtar.
That's why it's possible. That's the reason. That's the Gemara explains it this way. Okay?
It doesn't matter what order whether the guy non-kushi, whether he signed first or signed second. But even if he signed second, it wouldn't be more. Signed first is definitely because he has no idea he's going to sign it.
Yeah, but he's not going to sign. A regular Jew is not going to sign unless he knows who's going to sign with him. On a get. Monetary, you sign.
Matter.
You leave your signature, and somebody will sign above you or below you. You don't know who it's going to be. Okay? If you ever go, it's interesting. You go to Reb Chaim Kanevsky. David is important. Chaim Kanevsky, if he ever puts a signature in anything, he puts it immediately below the bottom line. No space. Why? Because anything he writes, what happens if somebody else fills something in above his signature? Right? He didn't write it. So to make sure that he's signing on what he had written, it's always there's no room to insert anything else. That you should understand, he signed on this and not on anything else, because there's a space. Somebody's able to actually fill in the space. So a regular legal document, the witness have to sign directly below the legal document, because let's say you don't, somebody can insert a condition. They can say there's a precondition. The document's only if, what, when. So it comes out the witness didn't sign properly. Of course, there's an element of question: is the document really valid or not? Sure. The Tosa, because anything that's explicit in the Torah, the exclusion is similar to the Tztukim. No, it's not rabbinic. It's a doraisa. It's kosel sevi krisus.
There's a lot of rabbanim that were implemented with it. Even the signatures are rabbanim.
Doesn't make a difference. First, that depends. According to Rabbi, it's not a Rabban, it's doraisa. According to Rabbi Loza, it's Rabbanan, but once you put the signature on that document, that signature is a doraisa. It's not a Rabbanan. Right? It's not required. But if you want to have evidence that this get was given by the husband, you have to have that witness on there.
So even if it's a doraisa, it's not something explicit in the Torah.
No, but the concept of witnesses signing on a document, that is explicit. That's explicit.
So they're not...
I mean, we can discuss it in a minute, because the Gemara will discuss the Kusam don't hold of Lefnei V'Disitin L'Michshol. They don't believe in that, because they translate it literally. You should not put a stumbling block for a man. Blind man's walking, don't put your foot out. He shouldn't trip over your foot. But because the Gemara will discuss in a moment that matzah's kusi. Talking about making matzah. If a kusi makes matzah, first of all, you're permitted to eat it, but you have to be concerned about chometz. And not only that, could you actually use it to fulfill your obligation of eating matzah to Seder? Was it made lishma? So we can see there's a three-way argument in this over here, whether you can or not. So Tosas asks, how you permitted to eat it, even if they make it lishma and they're careful, it shouldn't be chometz. That's only regarding themselves. But regarding giving it to another party, they interpret based on their interpretation of even the Sitin Michshol. It's irrelevant that if somebody else does an Isser. Right? So if that's the case, how do you know? How do you trust them? So Tosas answers, which is that the Kusi needs the matzah for himself. So since he's making it for himself, now you want to take his matzah, to be yotze the mitzvah with his matzah. So we say that since if they are careful in mitzvahs which pertain to themselves, and since it is explicit in Torah, the provision of chometz, and that has been made lishma, you're permitted to eat the matzah. Tosei says another question. Rabbinically, you're not permitted to eat any bread that's made by, or dough that's made by a kusi. It was one of the 18 enactments, the Gemara Shabbos, which they had made, because the kusim were the ones who actually interfered with the building of Beis Hamikdash. They penalized them. They said eating that bread is like eating chazer, it's like eating pork. So how do we? So it says the dough was the dough of a Jew. The dough, Esau was the Esau of a regular Jew. And they went and baked that dough. So do I have to be concerned that the kusi wasn't really sufficiently vigilant that it not become chametz? That's what Tosas explains. We're not talking about he took flour and added water and so on and so. Then you're not permitted to eat it. Separate prohibition. Even during the year, you're not permitted to eat that bread.
Why
We'll
do you accept the signatures that we get?
Because he's a chaver. Here's the question of lying. Does he qualify as a witness? Let's see the Gemara. Moni masnisi. Who do I attribute the Mishnah? The Mishnah says that an 8 kusi, together with a regular Jew, is considered a valid signature. Moni masnisi. Who do I attribute the Mishnah to? Lo Tanakama, v'lo Reb Lozer, v'lo Reb Shimon Gamliel. Seemingly, it's not the Tanakama, the anonymous Tana of this price, which we're going to quote. Not Reb Lozer, not Reb Shimon Gamliel. Why? Tanya. Matzah's kusi. Matzah that's prepared by a kusi. So the Tanakama says, Muteres, you're permitted to eat it, meaning there's no concern of chometz. V'odem yotzi bo yidei chavoso b'Pesach. And a person is able to fulfill his mitzvah, his obligation of Be'erev Tochel Matzahs, meaning that it was made l'shmo, and you fulfill your obligation of eating matzah. That's the Tanakama. So the Gemara is going to ask if that's the case. So what do we need? So if that's the case, why only 1 kus, 8 kusi? Let them both be kusim. Kusim are trusted. Rabbi Lozer oser. Rabbi Lozer says no. You're not permitted to eat the matzah that's prepared by the kusi. Not for chometz and not for the mitzvah of matzah. Why? Because they're not proficient in all the aspects of mitzvahs. So there's a chance. There was an oversight. We're not saying deliberate. There was an oversight, and that oversight causes chometz, and it was not done lishma. That's what Rabbi Lozer. Shimon Omer, no. Kol mitzvah she'erzik kusim herzik harbe medaktim Yosef Yisrael. Any mitzvah which kusim took on, that's their mitzvah, they're more meticulous in the fulfillment of that mitzvah even more than an ordinary Jew, than an original Jew. So therefore, you can be Yotzei. So since matzah is one of the mitzvahs they took on as their mitzvah, that mitzvah is what? Mahajim and Mahajim. This is the ultimate level. Okay? So Mark is going to ask that. Our Mishnah that says, by other documents, monetary documents, a kusi does not qualify, and by get isha and by get shichur, he does qualify. A single 8 kusi. Money. Tanakama, if I want to attribute our Mishnah to Tanakama, afilu shar shtoris nami, because he says, matzah's kusi, although even if we're not 100% sure, there's a presumption that what? That they do it right. So if we go after presumption, so in the Mishnah when it says that kusi are only qualified for a get isha, get shichur, similarly cannot go like Tanakama, we presume that what? They're qualified.
Right.
As they're qualified for matzah.
What? But he just says matzah, that's all.
No, they're discussing matzah. They're discussing matzah. Evidently it's a presumption. Tosas talks about it. He quotes the Gemara in Chulin. The Gemara says anything that's written in the Torah explicitly, the presumption is they do it right. So since Edus is a halacha in the Torah, being a witness, right? It's written. So presumably, if they did sign, they're qualified to sign. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed.
But why would the Tanakh just say matzah here, not say exactly that? If that's how they go.
Matzah is even a greater chiddush. Matzah, which it entails much more in terms of supervision and vigilance and everything. Even there, Tanakama says, anything they assume.
So that would be different than Rav Shimon and
Shimon Gamliel says if we have to know they assumed it. Arzuke, that's the argument. Is being written in the Torah, is that sufficient to go on that alone? Or we have to know that as Arzuke. They assume that's their mitzvah. Well, we're speaking about where their interpretation is not different than our interpretation. Okay, Rabbi Lozer, and according to Rabbi Lozer, that he says they cannot be trusted. Right? Rabbi Lozer says, Oser, because they're not proficient in the details of the mitzvah, I feel get Ishanamilo, so how would they qualified to sign on a get? Right? Maybe they weren't instructed, maybe they believe they are qualified, but not qualified. I'll give you an example. Let's say he's a gambler. Because he's a gambler. He doesn't know that a gambler causes you to be disqualified for being an aid. Doesn't know that. So just as by matzah we say that because we're not faulting them in terms that it's deliberate, but they're not bedaktikin, because they're not proficient. Ein bikim b'tuktukei mitzvos.
He says all mitzvahs. He's not...
Exactly. V'irav Shimon Gamliel, Da'arzuk, according to Shimon Gamliel, if factually we know they took on the mitzvah as the matzah, afil shtoros nami, so even by ordinary monetary documents, they should be qualified to sign. Either lo arzuk, if it's something they did not take on and they take it lightly, afil get ishanami lo, so they shouldn't be even qualified to sign on the get isha. But the Mishnah makes a differentiation. Get isha, get shichur, yes, but ordinary monetary documents not. So what does he differentiate? So Mar says, I'll tell you, the Mishnah is one of Shimon Gamliel. Regarding a get isha and a writ of emancipation, they're extra careful. They took that on, that unless you meet that special standard, they wouldn't sign. And therefore, that's the reason why they're qualified to sign. But a get isha, a monetary document, since they haven't taken that on as their thing, that's the reason why they're not qualified. So he says, if that's the case, ma'ir yachad, afil sheinami. So if that's the case, why does it say only one witness is qualified? Right? Even both of them. Every kusi, it's like matzah. If they took this mitzvah on for themselves, so therefore they're meticulous in meeting all the criteria which qualifies a witness. So every kusi should be able to have two witnesses.
You need one kusi witness and one Jewish witness.
No, the Mishnah says you have a kusi and a Jew. What do you need, a kusi and a Jew? Have two, let them both be.
Not just one witness.
It's just, we're saying like matzah. Right? There's no Jew there. Right? It's called kusi matzah bakery. Right? That should be enough. You don't even have Jewish supervision there. They're everything. So if that's the case, so by get, it should be the same thing. Right? What do you need? A Jew signing with him to make sure that he meets the standard. If once they assume it, they meet the standard based on their own level of standard.
Right, yeah.
No, but we have a problem that we don't understand it. Can't go like Rebbe Lozer, because Rebbe Lozer says, due to their lack of proficiency, they're not qualified in any area. So that's the question. So why do we differentiate between an ordinary monetary document and a get isha? So it can't go like Rebbe Lozer. That's what we said. It can't go like Rebbe Lozer. But we say even call Rebbe Shimon Gamliel. If it's arzuke, they assume this as their mitzvah. So if that's the case, why do we need a Jew and a kusi? Let two kusi be on the get isha. Again. Now that's Gemara Number base. Because the question is, when it says in the Mishnah, one, is it one or two? Okay? Because the Gemara brings an incident with Kfar Usnoi, it says there were two Eidim. Okay? So why does the Mishnah say only one? Even two should be qualified without a Jew signing together with them. Alomar Reb Lozer lo chiru bo el eid echod kusi. Reb Lozer is Namora. It says Reb Lozer interprets the Mishnah. It says lo chiru bo el eid echod kusi b'levod. Only a single kusi witness. But if they both be kusim, on the get isha would not be valid. But if it's arzuke, but if they assume this is their thing to do it right, it should be what both of them should be. You shouldn't need a Jew signing together with the kusi. According to Reb Shimon Gamliel, correct? So who do we attribute the Mishnah to? La'olam Reb Lozer. It's going like Reb Lozer. An ordinary kusi, we say, cannot trust him. But what about if he's a special kusi? As we speak about the kusi chover, he's a person of distinction. La'olam Reb Lozer. Go in the chosim Yisrael b'sof. We're speaking about that the latter signature in the document is a Jew, not a Kusi signed. Why? What difference does it make if it was a Jew or the Kusi? Was the second signature? Nilaf Kusi Choveru Avo. Because if the signature that preceded the Jew's signature wasn't a Kusi Chover, meaning he was a Kusi of distinction, he was a learned Kusi, lo machtem le mikamei. He would not allow the Kusi to sign before him. The only reason why the Kusi signed before the Jew is because he was a Kusi of distinction. He was a Chaver. Being a Chav means he's fully proficient in all the laws, and he's a person of what standing and trustworthy. Otherwise, the Jew wouldn't have allowed him to sign before him. You following? What? Somewhere says, if that's the case, that the Jew would not allow the Kusi to sign for him unless he was a person of distinction, so now we have a problem. So why do we differentiate between get Isha and a monetary document? A Kusi Chaver is a person of integrity and honesty, so he should be relied upon even by get ordinary monetary documents. Well, that's the Gemara's going to answer that. But at this point, the Gemara says, "Yochi afilu shtar shtoris nami." So what does the Mishnah only say? It's only about get Isha, get Shichrur. One Kusi, it was saying, who signed before the Jew. Only in that situation do we rely on his signature. If the Jew's the one who signed last, and he would not allow a Kusi to sign for him unless he was a Kusi of integrity and distinction, so even by Shar Shtaris Nami, their signatures should be acceptable. The one Kusi should be qualified to sign. So what do we invalidate those documents? What are we limited to get Isha, get Shichur? Avram, are you with me?
Yeah, I just have an underlying question on
Good.
that. I don't understand what the status of a Kusi really is, because it seems like,
A Kusi, originally they were converts.
right,
And the way they conducted themselves, lives regarding mitzvahs, was in a very haphazard way. It was
Right.
pick and choose.
right, so we give them a stronger status than a guy, because we wouldn't even
No, they're
consider
Jewish.
them-
They're Jewish. They're converts.
But we don't consider them heretics if they're not considering Torah Shbal Peh. Because here the question between Rabbi Lezer and Shimon Gamliel isn't whether their status, it's whether they have an understanding of mitzvahs.
We're saying they're not heretics because it's something that's a shogeg. It's not deliberate. They're not, Stukim are heretics.
They don't believe in
Sadducees.
Torah Shbal Peh.
They do believe.
They do believe. in
But
Torah Shbal Peh.
they do believe, but they took on certain things they didn't take on. As a result of ignorance. This is ignorance here.
Just they're not aware.
Stukim is not ignorance. Stukim, the Sadducees, that was their position. They rejected the whole concept that at Sinai there was ever a oral law ever given at Sinai.
Okay.
They're not rejecting that.
This one
Because,
is just more stringent on what.
see, the Stukim were initially original Jews. You say, you're going to tell us what happened at Sinai. Kusim are newcomers. They're converts.
Right.
It's what they believe, what they don't believe. But it's not deliberate. It's as a result of their ignorance.
So it's just people that don't know much.
Kept to themselves as a community, so they knew
Yes.
that
Right. Correct. Eventually, the Gemara says they went back to Avodah Zorah. They went back to idolatry. Okay. Gemara says, "Yochi afilu shtaros nami." If the Jews, as we said, signed last, that's the case in the Mishnah, and he would not allow a Kusi to sign before him unless he was a Kusi Chaver. So why do we say if the Jew signs last on an ordinary monetary document, why is it not valid? It should be valid. El Amrina. So now the Gemara will say what I explained before. Rav Chinin Shavak Laman de Koshish Minei. When the Jew signs last, he leaves a space for another witness, who's an elderly witness, who's going to sign before him, out of respect. Koshish means elderly. So what? So if that's the case, and who's the elderly witness? The Chaver, the Kusi Chaver. So Gemara says, Hochanami, Rav Shavak Laman de Koshish Minei. So even by monetary document, if he signed last, he left the space for who was going to sign? The Kusi Chaver. So why by monetary documents is it not valid? When you have the Kusi signing before the Jew. So on that the Gemara says, Omer Reb Popa Zosameris, Eidi Aget in Chos Mizeb Lozeh. When it comes to the witnesses who sign on a get, they have to sign in the presence of one another. So it's not possible that if the Jew signed last, and then the space was left there, an ordinary Kusi signed. If that's the case, he wouldn't allow it to take place. because they have to sign the presence. He's aware of the person who signed before him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed it. So from here, we're able to extrapolate. Edi haget echos mezeh below zeh. My time, why? Omer Ashe Gzeira b'shum kulchem. Let's say the man who's divorcing his wife says, I want all you people to sign on the get. You only need 2 witnesses. He says, I want you 10 people to sign on the get. All 10 have to sign. If any one of them doesn't sign, although 2 is sufficient, because that was the precondition to the get, it's not a valid get. So they made a gzeira regarding a get, even if he doesn't say kulchem, to cover every situation that witnesses, when they sign on a get, they always have to sign the presence of one another. So when the Jew signed last, that means he was aware of the one who signed before him. And who would he allow him to sign before him? It's not, initially they said it's going to be a kusi chaver, and then an ordinary kusi signed. He was present, so he made sure it should be a kusi chaver. But monetary documents where they don't have signed the presence of one another, initially he was told there's going to be a kusi chaver. So he left a space that the elderly kusi should be able to sign before him. But it may have turned out, after everything was said and done, an ordinary kusi signed there. So it's possible that kusi who signed is not a qualified witness. Therefore, by ordinary monetary documents, if there's a kusi before the Jew, we do not allow that document to be used to be considered a viable document.
The monetary document, the agent who witnessed the activity of the monetary document.
They don't even have to witness any activity. It could be a shtar halvo. They signed the shtar on behalf of the lover. Lover didn't even borrow the money yet. He didn't borrow the money yet. So the question is, he told him to do it, right? The lover, the borrower. He says, I need a loan document. And they wrote it up for him. And the Jew signed last because he was told that an elderly kusi would sign before him, which is a kusi chaver. It turned out not to be that way, so it's a problem.
I see, Rabbi, I'm assuming that this we're talking about a Jewish government, Jewish courts, not in a place where
Right, right, because we said earlier. The Mishnah says that if it's erkos, if it comes out of a non-Jewish court, that's Dina Malchus Adina.
Right, that's right. So,
Right.
So it has to be, we're talking about...
Correct. If we know one of them is a kusi? No, it's not. It's not valid. Not valid. Rabbinically, we invalidate it. If he did not say kulchem, it would be rabbinically invalidated. And if he said kulchem, then on Torah level it's not valid. You never know what he said. He may have said more than 2. He may have said 8, 10. Do we know what he said? We don't know what he said.
So why would the Chazal not require all documents to be signed simultaneously?
Even ordinary monetary documents.
Yeah.
Because there are no tragedies there. There are no, right? There's a very serious consequence. The get's not valid. The woman is it's considered adultery. The children are illegitimate. Over there, what's going to be the worst case scenario, right?
There's a dispute. There's a dispute that creates machloket.
No. You have to have evidence. Without evidence, if there's a kusi signed on it, and the kusi signed until he brings proof, the one who's making the claim that he was a kusi, if he proves it's a kusi chaver, it's not a problem. He'll collect. By get, you don't have to prove it's a kusi chaver. If the second signature was a Jew, it's clear he wouldn't have allowed a kusi to sign unless he was an elder, one of the elders of the kusim, who's qualified.
So we have
But a
to
monetary
the
document,
second person to sign on this.
no, so he'd have to bring a proof. Let's say the lender would have to bring a proof that the one who signed before the Jew was a kusi chaver. But if he brings that proof, he'll collect with that document. That's like validating the document. Normally you have validated it's not a forgery. Here, it's more than just validating not a forgery. He has to bring proof for the caliber of that first witness who's a kusi.
I were a lender, and I wanted my documents signed. I wouldn't want to take chances with sequencing the signature.
You never know. You understand the lender's not always the expert in who's qualified, who's not qualified. The man's a Jew, a Jew's a Jew.
Look, I'm a lender. I'm not allowed to collect interest. So where's my upside? I'm not looking for trouble. I want to make sure that the loan gets repaid.
Okay.
So why am I going to...
Based on your lack of understanding of what is needed, you allowed that the kusi should be one who's assigned. You know, sometimes you go to a wedding and you see the people, they call up for Edi Kedushin. It's not so simple. The question of Shomer Shabbos, some of these witnesses. You cringe. The ksuba, so let the ksuba be posel. Ksuba, you know, it's a valid marriage. We're talking about the actual Edi Kedushin. You know, the what you call quasi Shomer Shabbos, what people call them. And rabbis, they officiate with these kinds of witnesses, so-called Orthodox rabbis. I mean, how do you get involved with this kind of situation?
As you've said before, that's not a big problem because they are married, and if the marriage has to be broken, it leaves them open.
Well, they may not be married. They may not be married. No. But then you'll need a get. Then you'll need a get. You don't. It's not open to leniencies. If they're if they're true Shomer Shabbos, then the witnesses have to be qualified witnesses. You know, it's a b'di'evet. L'chatchila, the witnesses, the marriage should be marriage under the chuppah. Otherwise, bracha levatola. Right, it's a bracha in vain.
Oh, that's a separate.
Right, and also it's not preferable that a man he should marry the woman through bia. That's a fact. It's a fact that if something happened, wasn't done right, but a person that's not a chatchila, the Gemara says in Kedushin, the Rav man get a man the kodesh bebia. Rav would give malchus for a person who was makadosh through cohabitation. That's not the way it was done. Okay, just we'll do one for 2 minutes over here. Matzah's kusi muteris. There's the argument whether the matzah that's made by kusi is permitted to eat it on Pesach. Vimtoma halo gozo apiton. Originally they forbade their bread, the bread that's made by a kusi. Kedamina pirkei Reb Lezer. Fishon vatlim bini beisamid shmei Ezra. When Ezra wanted to build the Bayisheni, the kusim they interfered, they didn't allow it to build. Ktoni hosam kan omer Reb Lezer called the ochel pas kusi. Hear this? Kilo ochel b'sar chazir. One who eats the bread of a kusi, it's like eating pork. V'taina mi per kamed chulin gabi min pito pas kusi. A person who's an idolater, a Jew, his bread is like the bread of a kusi. Who made the dough? A Jew made the dough. Not a kusi Jew. So therefore he's only preparing the dough for baking. No, the kusi. So it's pas Yisrael. Right, let's say a Jew makes dough and then afterwards a goy forms it and puts it in the oven. It's pas Yisrael. Because what determines whether pas, it's who makes the dough. Vim tomar, amay yotzi de chovos, dilma lo shomer l'shem matzo, the chashide l'fnivid l'sizes question, how you permit it? It may be chometz, because they're suspect of l'fnivid l'sizes based on their interpretation. V'shlom go the kimlon, the ein l'kusi matzah cheresh yu chalotzis bo yidei chovoso. He's going to be also with this matzah himself. So it's not versus another person that he's not concerned somebody else will be in violation. Mashbei shchulin, kotea rosha le'echod, man v'noselo, regarding shchita. Kusi is qualified to shech, but maybe you do a correct shchita. The answer is you give him a piece of the meat. You tell him to eat the meat. If he eats the meat, then you know it's a valid shchita because it's not lifnei iver. For somebody else to do the wrong thing, it's irrelevant to him because the way they interpret lifnei iver l'sita michshol. So you offer it to him, and if he eats it, that's clear. He's not going to eat not kosher. If he personally eats it, then you're permitted to eat from shchita. If not, he can't be trusted.